Get off my mat! Animals train outside!
I paid for this class. Same as everyone.
Trent Caldwell,
You paid?
third-degree black belt, owner of Ironclad MMA, looked her up and down.
What'd you do, lay under some man all night to earn that?
Watch your mouth.
Or what?
Trent grabbed her bag off the bench and threw it across the floor.
Go on, pick it up. That's what you're good at, right?
Willa's eyes locked on his, jaw tight, voice steady.
Put your belt where your mouth is.
A few students smirked. One pulled out a phone. Trent grinned, tapped the black belt around his waist. You want to
Wanna
go?
go? Fine.
Fine.
Get on the mat. Let's spar.
Let's spar.
Just for fun.
Just for fun. She kicked off her shoes, stepped onto the mat barefoot. Trent Caldwell had no idea he just stepped on the mat with the wrong woman. Atlanta. South Side. The kind of neighborhood where streetlights flicker more than they shine, and the bus only runs twice an hour after dark. Willa Sanders lived in a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat on Decatur Street. The rent was late more months than it wasn't. The fridge had just enough to get through the week. The hallway smelled like bleach and old carpet. She was 34 years old, worked the overnight shift at a distribution center 20 minutes outside the city, loading pallets, scanning boxes, stacking freight from 10 at night until 6 in the morning, 5 nights a week, sometimes 6 when they offered overtime. She never turned overtime down. 3 years ago, her husband passed. Heart attack at 31. No warning, no goodbye. Just a phone call from a hospital and a life that split in half. After that, Willa shrank. She stopped going out, stopped calling friends, stopped doing anything that wasn't work, sleep, groceries, repeat. She moved through the world like she was trying not to take up space. Head down, voice low, the kind of woman people looked straight through without seeing. But lately, something worse had started. 3 times in the past month, a group of men had followed her from the bus stop to her building after her shift ended, calling out to her, getting closer each time. The 3rd time, one of them grabbed her arm. She yanked free and ran up the stairs, locked the door, sat on the floor with her back against it, heart slamming, hands shaking. That night she made a decision. She needed to learn how to protect herself. Not tomorrow. Now. She searched online for gyms near her that offered evening classes she could attend before her shift. Only one came up within bus distance, Ironclad MMA Academy. The website showed a clean facility, a wall of trophies, and the face of its owner grinning in a black GI. Trent Caldwell, 3rd-degree black belt, over 10,000 YouTube subscribers. She signed up online and paid the monthly fee before she could talk herself out of it. What nobody at Ironclad would ever guess, what Willa herself had buried so deep she barely thought about it anymore, was that she already knew how to fight. Her grandfather, Colonel Herman Sanders, came home from the Korean War with 2 things, a Purple Heart and a deep love for martial arts he'd learned overseas. He built a training area in his backyard in Savannah, hung a heavy bag from an oak tree, laid old wrestling mats on the grass. He started teaching Willa when she was 6, judo first, then Brazilian jiu-jitsu, every Saturday morning, every summer break, every school holiday. He didn't believe in trophies or showing off. He believed in one thing: skill is quiet. Let them be loud. By 16, Willa earned her black belt. She competed at regional level, won 3 tournaments in 2 years. She was fast, technical, and calm under pressure. Coaches said she had something you couldn't teach, an instinct for reading her opponent before they moved. Then her grandfather passed. Then life got heavy: college debt, bad jobs, marriage, loss. The belt went into a duffel bag. The duffel bag went under the bed. She hadn't opened it in over a decade. Now she was just a woman who worked nights and rode the bus home alone. That's who walked into Ironclad MMA Academy on a Tuesday evening. That's who Trent Caldwell looked at and saw nothing. And that might be the most dangerous mistake he ever made, because the quietest person in the room was carrying a secret that could put him on the floor. Willa showed up 15 minutes early. She wore the only athletic clothes she had, gray sweatpants, a plain black t-shirt, and a pair of old sneakers she kept clean for the gym. The dojo was already full, 30-something students in matching white GIs warming up on the mat, music pumping through speakers. The walls were covered in banners, tournament wins, sponsorship logos, and a massive photo of Trent Caldwell mid-kick with the words, discipline, power, legacy underneath. Willa stood near the entrance and waited. Nobody greeted her. Nobody even looked at her. When Trent finally noticed her, he stopped mid-sentence, looked her up and down, took his time doing it. "Help you? I signed up online, paid the monthly fee already." Trent tilted his head. "Yeah, see, that online rate was a promotion. Expired last week, it's double now. The website still shows the same price." "Website's wrong," he shrugged. "You want in, it's $200 a month. You don't, door's right there." $200. That was groceries for 3 weeks. Willa's jaw tightened. She looked at the mat, looked at the students. Every single one of them was watching now. She paid. Class started. Trent ran drills in pairs. He walked the room correcting stances, adjusting grips, calling out names. He passed Willa 4 times. Each time, he looked right through her like she wasn't standing there. Her partner, a young guy half her age, threw sloppy technique at her the whole session. Trent saw it, said nothing. After class, Willa approached him, calm, respectful. "Excuse me, you skipped me on every drill. I'm paying the same as everyone here." Trent was holding his phone, recording. The red light was on. He didn't lower it. "Sweetheart, I run this floor. You don't tell me how to teach." He raised his voice so the room could hear. "You want to prove you belong? Get on the mat. Let's spar. Just for fun." A few students laughed. Someone whispered. Nobody stepped in. Willa looked at the camera, looked at the mat, looked at the man who had just turned her into content without asking. She should have walked out. Any reasonable person would have. But Willa Sanders was done walking away from things. Trent didn't waste time. He snapped his fingers at one of his senior students. "Get her some gear." The student came back with a chest protector 2 sizes too big and a head guard with a cracked strap. Willa put them on without a word. The chest protector hung off her like a vest on a scarecrow. Trent looked at the camera propped on the shelf behind him. The red light was still blinking. He adjusted his GI, tightened his belt, and stepped to the center of the mat. "All right, everybody circle up. We got a special guest tonight." The students gathered around the edge. Some sat. Some leaned against the wall. A few had phones out. One guy in the back was already recording. Trent bowed, slow, exaggerated, like he was performing for a crowd at Madison Square Garden. "Whenever you're ready, sweetheart." Willa stepped to the center, hands up, feet apart, no expression. Trent threw a light front kick, barely touched her. He spun around with his hands up like he'd just landed a knockout. The class laughed. He winked at the camera. "See that? That's called a jab. Most people train 2 years before they can even block one." He threw another. Then another. Playful, flashy. The kind of technique designed to look good on camera, not to teach anything. Each time he landed, he'd pause, look at the students, and nod like he'd just proven a point. Willa absorbed everyone. Moved just enough to stay balanced. Said nothing. Did nothing. Just watched. Here's the thing nobody in that room understood. Trent Caldwell needed this video. His YouTube channel had been dying for months. 6 months ago, he had 12,000 subscribers and growing. Sponsors were reaching out. Local news featured him twice. He was building something. Then the views dropped. The algorithm stopped pushing his content. His last 10 videos barely cracked 1,000 views each. 2 sponsors pulled out. A third stopped returning emails. He needed a new angle. Something raw. Something that would hit the trending page. And 3 weeks ago, he found it. Open challenge content. Bring in someone who doesn't belong. Film the mismatch. Play the generous coach who gives a free lesson to a beginner. Inspirational clickbait. Easy views. Willa wasn't a student to him. She was a thumbnail. The out-of-shape woman in borrowed gear getting a lesson from a real black belt. He could already see the title, Black Belt Teaches Humble Lesson to Beginner Mom. He could already count the clicks. So he turned up the pressure. The kicks got harder, faster, less playful. A roundhouse caught Willa in the ribs. She stumbled sideways. The sound was sharp, skin on skin, the slap of impact echoing off the walls. She winced, caught her balance. Didn't go down. Trent circled her. Come on, you said you wanted a class. This is the class. Another kick, this one to the thigh, hard enough to leave a bruise by morning. Willa's leg buckled for a second, but she stayed up. Someone in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. Nobody said stop. You can quit whenever you want, Trent said, loud enough for the camera, soft enough to sound generous. No shame in it. Willa didn't quit. She kept her hands up and her mouth shut. That made it worse. Because Trent didn't want a fight. He wanted a reaction. He wanted her to cry, to beg, to walk off the mat so he could post the clip with a caption about resilience and discipline and how his dojo builds character. He needed her to break. She wouldn't break. So he broke the rules. Trent shot forward, a sweep to the ankle so fast Willa had no time to read it. Her feet went out from under her. She hit the mat flat on her back. The impact echoed through the room. The air left her lungs in one sharp gasp. For 2 seconds, she didn't move. Trent stood over her, arms spread wide, chest out, grinning at the class like he'd just won a championship. And that, he said loud and slow, is why we train. A few students clapped. One whistled. The guy in the back was still recording. Trent reached a hand down, not to help, to perform. The generous champion offering mercy to the fallen beginner. Content gold. Willa looked at his hand. She didn't take it. She stood up on her own. Slowly. Pulled off the oversized chest protector. Set it on the mat. Pulled off the cracked headguard. Set it beside the protector. Her ribs ached. Her back was on fire. Her right thigh was already swelling. She looked at Trent, looked at the camera, looked at 30 faces that had watched a man twice her training level beat on her for content and done nothing. She picked up her bag from the floor, where he had thrown it earlier, walked to the door, stopped, didn't turn around. "I'll be back," she said. Not loud, not angry, not dramatic. Just a fact, like telling someone it's going to rain. The door closed behind her. Trent laughed. "Sure you will." He walked to the camera, stopped the recording, and replayed the footage. He was already planning the edit, the thumbnail, the title. He didn't hear what she said. Not really. He heard a woman making an empty threat on her way out the door. But that wasn't a threat. That was a promise. And Willa Sanders had never broken a promise in her life. Willa drove home in silence. No radio, no phone. Just the sound of her own breathing and the ache spreading across her ribs with every inhale. She sat in her apartment for a long time, lights off, still in the same sweatpants, still smelling like that dojo floor. Then she walked to the bedroom closet, reached to the back, pulled out a duffel bag she hadn't touched in over 10 years. She sat on the bed and unzipped it slowly. Inside, a folded GI yellowed at the collar, a pair of worn grappling gloves, and at the very bottom, wrapped in a hand towel, her grandfather's black belt, faded, frayed at the edges, still holding the shape of the last knot he ever tied. Underneath the belt was a note, his handwriting, shaky but clear. "Skill is quiet. Let them be loud." Willa held the belt to her chest and closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she could hear his voice. Not the words, the tone. Calm, steady. The way he sounded every Saturday morning in the backyard before a session. She picked up her phone and called a number she hadn't dialed in years. Coach Enrique Vasquez, her grandfather's oldest friend, retired MMA coach. now running a free gym in a church basement across town. He picked up on the second ring. Enrique, it's Willa, Herman's granddaughter. Silence. Then a long breath. I know who you are, baby girl. I've been waiting for this call. 3 weeks. That's all she had before Trent posted the video and dared her to come back. 3 weeks to wake up everything she'd buried. The question wasn't whether she still had it. The question was whether she was ready to let the world see it. 3 weeks later, Trent posted the video. He titled it, Black Belt Gives Free Lesson to Woman Who Walked In Off the Street. Thumbnail, him standing over Willa on the mat, arms spread, grinning, her flat on her back. The word humbled in red block letters across the bottom. It did numbers, not viral, but enough. 40,000 views in 2 days. The comments were split. Half praised Trent for keeping it real. The other half called him a bully. He didn't care either way. Views were views. Then he posted a follow-up, 15-second clip. Just him, standing in the dojo, pointing at the camera. Yo, to the lady from last week, you said you'd be back. I'm waiting. Open invitation. Anytime. Let's run it again. He tagged it, #IroncladChallenge, pinned it to his page. 2 days later, Willa replied. One sentence in the comments. Saturday, 7 p.m. The post exploded. Shares, reposts, quote tweets. By Friday night, every martial arts page in Atlanta had picked it up. Trent promoted it like a title fight. He printed flyers. He streamed a countdown on his channel. He told his students to bring friends. Saturday came. The dojo was packed, double the usual crowd. Over 60 people pressed along the walls. Students, friends, strangers, content creators with ring lights and tripods. The energy was loud and electric. Someone had brought a portable speaker playing walkout music. Trent was already on the mat. Full competition G, fresh black belt. He was shadow boxing, rolling his shoulders, bouncing on his toes, playing the part, looking like the main event. Then Willa walked in. The room got quieter. Not silent, not yet. But the volume dropped like someone turned a dial. She was carrying a gym bag. Old, faded green canvas. She set it on the bench, unzipped it, and pulled out a GI. Not new, not white. Yellowed at the collar, soft from 1,000 washes, her grandfather's GI. She put it on, slowly, carefully, like she was putting on armor. Then she reached into the bag and pulled out the belt. Faded black, frayed at the edges. She tied it around her waist with a knot so practiced her hands didn't shake once. The room went quiet. Trent saw the belt. His grin dropped for half a second. Just half. Then it came back, wider than before, but something behind his eyes shifted. Nice costume, he said. Let's see if it's real. Willa stepped onto the mat. No borrowed gear this time. No oversized chest protector, no cracked head guard, just the GI, the belt, and bare feet on the canvas. They faced each other. Trent didn't bow this time. He dropped straight into a fighting stance. Left foot forward, hands high, weight on his back leg. Taekwondo base. He was done performing generosity. This was about dominance. He opened fast, a spinning back kick aimed at her midsection, the kind of technique that looks devastating on camera and drops beginners cold. It was fast. It was clean. It would have ended most people. Willa shifted her weight 2 inches to the left. The kick sailed past her ribs close enough to move the fabric of her GI. She didn't flinch. Trent reset. Threw a roundhouse to the head. Fast. Committed. She ducked it. Not panicked. Measured, like she'd seen it before he threw it. He threw a combination. Front kick, spinning heel, back fist, flashy, athletic. Everyone missed by inches. Willa moved just enough, never more than she needed. The crowd started murmuring. Trent's breathing got heavier. His technique got wider. He was throwing harder, reaching further, committing more weight, trying to land something, anything, that would end this before the story changed. "Stand still!" he barked. "Stop running!" Willa wasn't running. She was reading. Every Saturday morning for 10 years, her grandfather had taught her one thing above all else. Before you move, you watch. Before you strike, you understand. You don't react to what they're doing. You react to what they're about to do. Trent loaded up one more kick. A high roundhouse, full power, aimed at her temple. His whole body rotated into it. Both feet nearly left the ground. Everything he had. Willa caught it. Her left hand wrapped around his ankle. Her right hand gripped his gi at the collar. In one seamless motion, weight shift, hip turn, leg sweep, she executed a textbook osotogari, a classic judo throw her grandfather had drilled into her 5,000 times on the grass in his backyard. Trent's back hit the mat so hard the sound cracked through the room like a gunshot. Before he could breathe, Willa transitioned. Ground control, knee across his chest. She isolated his right arm, locked her legs around it, arched her hips, and sank an arm bar so clean it belonged in a textbook. Trent's face twisted. His free hand slapped the mat 3 times. Fast, desperate. Tap, tap, tap. 8 seconds. From catch to submission. 8 seconds. Willa released the arm bar, stood up, stepped back. The dojo was silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence that has weight. The kind you feel pressing against your eardrums. 60 people, phones in the air, mouths open. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then, from somewhere in the back, one person started clapping, then another. Then the whole room erupted, cheering, screaming, stamping feet on the floor. Willa didn't celebrate, didn't raise her arms, didn't look at the crowd. She walked to the bench, folded her grandfather's GI, placed the belt on top, put them back in the bag. She walked out the same door she'd walked in. Trent stayed on the mat, sitting, holding his arm, staring at the floor. The camera on the shelf was still recording, the red light still blinking. Within 1 hour, 4 different angles of the fight were online. By midnight, it passed 500,000 views. By Monday morning, 2 million. Hashtag Dojo Silence trended nationally. Sports blogs picked it up. MMA forums broke it down frame by frame. News outlets ran the clip on morning shows. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. Who is she? Willa didn't do interviews, didn't post online, didn't respond to a single message. But someone else did. The next morning, Willa's phone buzzed with a voicemail from a number she didn't recognize. A calm voice. Professional. Cold. "Ms. Sanders, this is Nathan Caldwell, attorney at law. My client, my brother, intends to pursue legal action against you for aggravated assault. You'll be hearing from us." The voicemail played 3 times before Willa set the phone down. She sat at her kitchen table, still in her work uniform, still smelling like cardboard and warehouse dust. The sun wasn't up yet. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of her own breathing. Aggravated assault. The word sat in her chest like a stone. She hadn't started the fight. She hadn't thrown the first strike. She hadn't even wanted to be on that mat. But none of that mattered now, because the story was already being rewritten. Nathan Caldwell moved fast. By Monday afternoon, he had filed a civil lawsuit in Fulton County Superior Court. The complaint was 12 pages long. It alleged that Willa Sanders, a woman with no professional fighting record and no registered affiliation with any martial arts organization, had entered Ironclad MMA Academy under false pretenses and used excessive, unreasonable force during what was clearly a casual, consensual demonstration. The language was careful, clinical, designed to make a judo throw and an armbar sound like a premeditated attack. But the paperwork was only half the strategy. The other half was the edit. Trent had 60 people recording that night. Most of those clips showed the full sequence, the dare, the taunts, the 8-second takedown. But Trent had his own footage, the camera on the shelf, his angle, his edit. Nathan cut it down to 45 seconds. The new version started after the dare, after the taunts, after everything that gave context. It opened with Willa stepping onto the mat looking focused and aggressive. It showed her catching the kick, slamming Trent to the ground and locking the arm bar while he screamed. It ended with Trent on the mat, holding his arm. Hurt, alone, no setup, no insults, no let's spar for fun. Just a woman attacking a man in his own gym. Nathan sent the edited clip to 3 local news outlets with a press statement. My client, a respected martial arts instructor and small business owner, was violently assaulted during a friendly training exercise. He is pursuing all legal remedies available. 2 stations ran it. The segment aired Tuesday evening. Anchor voice, serious tone. The edited clip playing on a loop behind the headlines. Local gym owner hospitalized after violent sparring incident. Hospitalized. Trent hadn't been hospitalized. He'd gone to an urgent care clinic, got an X-ray that showed no fracture, and left with a standard arm sling. But Nathan made sure he wore that sling everywhere. The podcast, the grocery store, the gas station. Social media photos showed Trent wincing while opening a car door, struggling to lift a coffee cup, looking at the camera with sad, wounded eyes. The narrative flipped overnight. Comments poured in. Not on the original viral clip, on the news story, on Trent's Instagram, on the reposted edit. She walked in there looking for a fight. That wasn't self-defense. That was assault. He was just trying to teach her, and she snapped. Ban her. Lock her up. The people who had cheered 8 seconds ago were now calling her a criminal. Trent went on a podcast that Thursday. Local sports show. 40,000 listeners. He showed up in the sling, voice soft, eyes red like he'd been crying before the interview. I try to run a place where people feel welcome, you know. I invited her to train. I thought it would be fun. I never expected... He paused, swallowed, looked at the floor. I never expected to get hurt like that. In my own gym, in front of my students. The host nodded. Sympathetic. Do you feel safe going back? Trent shook his head. Honestly? No, I don't. The clip from the podcast went viral. 3 million views. Bigger than the original fight. The comments were brutal. Toward Willa. Meanwhile, Willa's life was collapsing. Her supervisor at the distribution center called her into the office Wednesday morning. He didn't sit down. Didn't offer her a seat either. Willa, this situation... The lawsuit, the news, it's creating a distraction. Corporate wants you off the floor until this is resolved. Unpaid administrative leave, effective immediately. I didn't do anything wrong. That's not for me to decide. Go home. We'll be in touch. She turned in her badge at the front desk, walked to the bus stop, sat there for 40 minutes in the heat waiting for a bus that was late. Her phone buzzed the whole time. Notifications, tags, messages from people she didn't know, most of them angry, a few threatening. She turned the phone off and put it in her pocket. At home, it got worse. Her neighbor across the hall, a woman she'd said good morning to every day for 2 years, saw her in the stairwell and turned around without speaking. The next day, someone left a note under her door. No signature, just 5 words. We don't want trouble here. Willa sat on her bed that night and stared at the ceiling. The duffel bag was still open on the floor. Her grandfather's belt was still on top. She thought about quitting, letting it go, dropping the whole thing and disappearing back into the quiet, invisible life she had before. Nobody would notice. Nobody would care. Then her phone rang, a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer. Miss Sanders, my name is Claudia Jameson. I'm a civil rights attorney. Enrique Vasquez gave me your number. Willa didn't speak. I've seen the original footage. All of it, every angle, and I've seen what they did to it. Claudia's voice was steady, controlled. The kind of calm that comes from years of walking into rooms designed to keep people like her out. What they're doing to you is textbook. Provoke, edit, litigate. I've seen it before. I can't afford a lawyer. I'm not asking you to pay me. I'm asking you to let me fight for you. Silence. Ms. Sanders, I need to ask you one question. The dojo that night, was there anyone else there? Anyone official? Police? Security? Anyone outside the gym? Willa thought. Closed her eyes. Tried to replay the night, the noise, the crowd, the parking lot after. There was a cop, she said slowly. A woman. She came to the door during the fight. Someone in the building called about the noise. She stood in the doorway for maybe a minute, then left. Claudia went quiet for 3 seconds. When she spoke again, her voice had changed, sharper, faster. Do you remember if she was wearing a body camera? Willa closed her eyes again, pictured the officer in the doorway, the uniform, the belt, the small black device clipped to her chest with a blinking green light. Yeah, Willa said. She was. Trent and Nathan had built their entire case on a 45-second edit. They'd cut the dare, cut the insults, cut every word that proved Willa didn't start this. But what they didn't know, what they had no way of knowing, was that a police body camera had recorded everything, every word, every taunt, every second of truth they tried to erase. The hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning in Fulton County Courthouse. Room 4. B. Small. No jury. Just a judge, 2 tables, and a gallery that seated maybe 40 people. Nathan Caldwell arrived first. Navy suit, polished shoes, leather briefcase. He set up his table like a man who had done this 100 times. Documents in order, tablet propped at an angle, 2 bottles of water lined up side by side. Trent came in behind him. Sling still on. He walked slowly, carefully, wincing when he sat down, even though the arm bar had been 5 weeks ago and the X-ray had shown nothing. He looked around the room with soft eyes. The victim, the small business owner, the man who opened his doors to a stranger and got hurt for it. Willa arrived with Claudia Jameson. No briefcase, no tablet, just a manila folder, a legal pad, and the look of a woman who hadn't slept in weeks but had decided that today she was done being quiet. The gallery was full. Reporters, bloggers, a few martial arts influencers who had followed the story. 2 sketch artists. The bailiff had to turn people away at the door. Nathan opened strong. He played the edited clip on a mounted screen. 45 seconds. No dare. No insults. Just Willa stepping onto the mat, catching the kick, slamming Trent to the ground, locking the armbar. Trent tapping. Trent screaming. Trent on the floor holding his arm. Your Honor, what you just watched is an unprovoked attack, Nathan said. My client, a licensed martial arts instructor, a business owner, a man who has served this community for over a decade, invited this woman to participate in a casual training demonstration. She responded with a level of force that was excessive, dangerous, and entirely unjustified. He called his first witness, a senior student from Ironclad. The student confirmed that the sparring session was casual, that Trent was going easy, that Willa escalated without warning. He called a second witness, another student, same story, rehearsed, word for word almost identical. Nathan returned to his table, straightened his tie. Your Honor, we believe the evidence is clear. Ms. Sanders entered that gym with intent to harm. We are seeking damages for medical expenses, emotional distress, and loss of business revenue. The judge turned to Claudia. Counselor? Claudia stood. She didn't rush, didn't raise her voice. She buttoned her jacket and stepped around the table like she had all the time in the world. Your Honor, opposing counsel just showed you 45 seconds of footage. I'd like to show you what happened before those 45 seconds. Nathan's pen stopped moving. The defense calls Officer Brenda Holloway. The courtroom shifted. Nathan looked at Trent. Trent looked at Nathan. Neither one moved. Officer Holloway walked in through the side door. Full uniform, badge, calm expression. She took the stand, placed her hand on the Bible, and sat down. Claudia approached. Officer Holloway, were you present at Ironclad MMA Academy on the night of March 14th? Yes, ma'am. I responded to a noise complaint from the business next door. Arrived at approximately 7:45 p.m. And when you arrived, what did you observe? A large crowd inside, loud music, two individuals on a mat, a man in a black GI and a woman in an older GI. The man appeared to be taunting the woman. Were you wearing your body camera that evening? Yes, ma'am. It was activated when I arrived on scene. Claudia turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to enter Officer Holloway's body camera footage into evidence, full and unedited. Nathan stood. Objection. This footage was never disclosed during... It was requested through proper channels 3 weeks ago, Your Honor. The police department confirmed receipt. The judge looked at Nathan. Overruled. Play the footage. The screen changed. The body camera footage was shaky at first. Holloway walking through the parking lot, pushing open the glass door. The sound hitting immediately. Music, shouting, cheering. Then Trent's voice, clear as daylight. You want to go? Fine. Get on the mat. Let's spar. Just for fun. The camera caught everything. Trent circling Willa, taunting her, the students laughing, and then the moment that broke the case wide open. Trent leaned in close to Willa, close enough that only the body cam mic picked it up. His voice dropped to a whisper that carried like a shout in the silent courtroom. Hit me for real. Make it look good for the camera. The gallery gasped. Not one gasp. A wave. 40 people inhaling at once. Nathan's face went white. Trent's jaw locked. His good hand gripped the edge of the table. Claudia let the silence sit for 3 full seconds before she spoke again. Your Honor, I have 3 additional witnesses, former students of Ironclad MMA Academy. All 3 are prepared to testify under oath. She called them one by one. The first, a 26-year-old woman named Paige Thornton. She testified that Trent had challenged her during her second week at the gym. She sustained a sprained wrist. When she complained, Trent told her to sign a document. She didn't read it. It was an NDA. The second, a 19-year-old college student named Devin Marshall. Same story. Open challenge. Got hurt. Signed an NDA the next day. Was told if he didn't sign, he'd be banned from every gym in the city. The third, a 31-year-old named Grace Whitfield. She had been a member for 8 months. She testified that Trent staged at least 4 challenge videos during her time there. Each one targeted someone new, someone who didn't fit, someone he could use. Every single time, Grace said, her voice steady. He picked somebody who looked like they didn't belong. Then he filmed it, posted it, and if anyone got hurt, his brother made them sign papers. The courtroom was dead still. Claudia turned to the judge. Your Honor, the plaintiff didn't come to this court seeking justice. He came here to finish what he started on that mat, to silence a woman who fought back. Every piece of evidence shows that Mr. Caldwell initiated the confrontation, consented to the sparring, and deliberately escalated the encounter for content. Ms. Sanders acted in self-defense. Nothing more. The judge looked at Trent for a long time. Then at Nathan. Then at the screen where the body camera footage was frozen on Trent's face, mid-grin, mid-dare. Case dismissed. I'm referring Mr. Caldwell's business practices to the State Athletic Commission for review. He paused, looked directly at Nathan. And Counselor, submitting selectively edited footage to this court and to the media raises serious questions about your professional conduct. I'll be forwarding my concerns to the State Bar. Nathan didn't respond. Trent didn't move. The sling hung on his arm like a costume nobody believed anymore. Willa stood up. She didn't smile, didn't celebrate. She looked across the aisle at Trent, the man who had called her an animal, thrown her bag on the floor, beat on her for contempt, and then sued her for fighting back. She said one sentence, quiet, clear. The whole room heard it. I didn't come here to beat you. I came here to take a class. She picked up her folder and walked out. That one sentence hit harder than any armbar ever could. She didn't want revenge. She didn't want fame. She didn't want his gym or his money or his reputation. She just wanted to learn. and he turned that into a war he was never going to win. The courthouse steps were crowded. Reporters, cameras, microphones pushed toward anyone walking out the door. Willa didn't stop. She walked straight through the crowd, eyes forward, mouth shut. Claudia stayed beside her, one hand on her shoulder, guiding her toward a car parked at the curb. Someone shouted a question. "Miss Sanders, how does it feel to win?" She didn't answer. She got in the car and closed the door. But the world answered for her. Within an hour, the body camera footage leaked. Not from Claudia, not from the court. Someone in the gallery had recorded the screen with their phone, shaky, grainy, but every word was clear. "Hit me for real. Make it look good for the camera." That one line did what no press statement ever could. It burned through the internet like a lit match dropped in dry grass. By Thursday evening, #Dojo silence was trending again, but this time a new hashtag joined it. #Justice for Willa. By Friday morning, it was the #1 trending topic in the United States. The original viral clip, the real one, the full 8-second takedown with all the context, resurfaced everywhere. People reposted it side by side with Nathan's 45-second edit. The comparison was devastating. You could see exactly what had been cut, exactly what had been hidden, exactly how the lie was built. Trent's world collapsed fast. His YouTube channel lost 4,000 subscribers in 48 hours. His remaining sponsors pulled out by Friday afternoon. The gym's Google rating dropped from 4.6 to 1.2 overnight, hundreds of one-star reviews flooding in from across the country. The State Athletic Commission launched a formal investigation into ironclad MMA's practices. Unlicensed sparring events, undisclosed injuries, coerced NDAs. 3 former students filed individual complaints. 2 more were preparing to. By the following Monday, Trent Caldwell closed the doors of Ironclad MMA Academy. No announcement, no farewell post. Just a padlock on the front door and a handwritten sign that read "Closed until further notice." It never reopened. Nathan Caldwell didn't fare much better. The judge's referral to the state bar triggered a formal ethics investigation, submitting edited evidence, misleading media statements, 2 prior complaints already on his record. His law license was suspended pending review. The brothers who had built their careers on intimidation and performance were dismantled in less than 2 weeks. Not by fists, not by force, by the truth. Meanwhile, Willa got a phone call from her supervisor at the distribution center. Different tone this time. "Willa, we'd like you to come back. Full reinstatement. Back pay for every shift you missed. We should have handled this differently." She went back. Clocked in that night like nothing had changed. Same pallets, same boxes, same fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. But something had changed. The people on the floor looked at her different now. Not with pity, not with suspicion, with respect. 2 weeks after the hearing, Coach Enrique called. "Willa, the church basement gym, it's too small for what's coming. I've been getting calls. Women from all over the city wanting to train, wanting what you showed them was possible. They built it together, Willa and Enrique, a free self-defense program operating out of the community center on Auburn Avenue. They called it the Sanders Program, named after her grandfather, the man who taught her everything on a patch of grass in Savannah. Classes ran 3 nights a week, open to any woman. No membership fees, no contracts, no NDAs, just a safe room, clean mats, and someone who understood what it meant to walk home alone at night. The first class had 12 women. The second had 30. By the end of the month, they had a waiting list. The city council took notice. A councilwoman from District 5 proposed a resolution to fund community-based self-defense programs across Atlanta's underserved neighborhoods. She cited Willa's story by name. The resolution passed unanimously. #Stand Up on the Mat spread nationally. Gyms in Chicago, Houston, Baltimore, and Oakland launched free programs inspired by the Sanders Program. Women posted videos of their first classes, their first throws, their first moments of feeling something they hadn't felt in years. Safe. Then one evening, Willa came home from a shift and found a letter in her mailbox. Official letterhead. The National Martial Arts Federation. They were inviting her to speak at their annual conference in Washington, D.C. She almost threw it away. Almost. Then she looked at the duffel bag sitting by the door, the one she hadn't been able to put back in the closet since the night she opened it. Her grandfather's belt was still on top, faded, frayed, still holding the shape of the last knot he ever tied. The conference hall in Washington, D.C. held 2,000 seats. Every one of them was full. Willa stood backstage. She was wearing a simple black dress and flat shoes. No makeup team, no stylist, no entourage. Just her, a glass of water, and the faded black belt folded inside her bag. Coach Enrique had flown in from Atlanta. He sat in the third row, arms crossed, nodding slowly before she even started speaking. Claudia Jameson was 2 rows behind him. Officer Holloway was near the back, out of uniform for the first time since Willa had met her. The MC introduced her. Read the bio Willa had written herself. 3 sentences. Warehouse worker, granddaughter of a veteran, founder of the Sanders program. No titles, no trophies, no exaggeration. Willa walked to the podium, set down a single index card, looked out at 2,000 faces looking back at her. She didn't read from the card. "My grandfather taught me how to fight in his backyard," she said. "He didn't have a gym. He had an oak tree and some old mats. He didn't have students. He had me." She paused. "He never told me I was strong. He never told me I was special. He told me one thing every single Saturday morning before we started. He said, 'Skill is quiet. Let them be loud.'" The room was still. I forgot that for a long time. 10 years. I put his belt in a bag and I put the bag under my bed, and I tried to be invisible. I thought if I was quiet enough, small enough, if I didn't take up too much space, the world would leave me alone. She looked down, then back up. It didn't. A few people in the front row wiped their eyes. A man looked at me and saw nothing. He saw my skin and decided what I was worth. He saw my clothes and decided where I belonged. He saw a woman standing alone in his doorway and thought, content. Her voice didn't shake. It didn't rise. It stayed level, steady, the way her grandfather used to sound on those Saturday mornings. But I wasn't nothing. I was never nothing. I was just quiet. And quiet is not the same as empty. She picked up the index card, flipped it over, read the only thing written on the back. This card says, "Don't forget to say thank you." She smiled. First real smile anyone had seen from her in months. So, thank you. To Enrique, who picked up the phone, to Claudia, who picked up the case, to Officer Holloway, who turned on a camera, and to my grandfather, who gave me everything I needed and then trusted me to remember it. She folded the card, put it in her pocket. If you're sitting out there right now and you feel invisible, if someone has made you believe you don't belong somewhere, I need you to hear me. You belong. Your skill belongs. Your presence belongs. And if anyone ever tells you different, you don't have to be loud about it. You just have to be ready. 2,000 people stood up at once. The applause didn't build. It erupted, like the room had been holding its breath the entire time, and finally let go. Willa stepped away from the podium, walked backstage, set her bag on a chair and unzipped it, took out her grandfather's belt, held it for a moment, then folded it carefully and put it back. She didn't need to carry it anymore. She had become what it represented. If this story stayed with you, if you felt something, I need you to do one thing. Drop a comment. Tell me about a time you were underestimated. A time someone looked at you and decided who you were before you opened your mouth. Then hit subscribe, because stories like Willa's don't get told on the news. They get told here, by us, for each other. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today, someone who's been quiet for too long. And remember, skill is quiet. Let them be loud.
8 seconds, one move, and a man who built his empire on silence lost it all to the truth. Willa didn't fight for revenge. She didn't fight for rules. She fought because someone told her she didn't belong, and she decided that wasn't his call to make anymore. For 10 years, she hid a black belt at the bottom of a bag she never opened, not because she forgot who she was, because the world made her believe she had to be small to survive. But here's the thing about people who stay quiet. They are not empty, they are loaded. And when moment comes, they don't need to be loud, they just need to be ready. So I want you to sit with this for a second. What are you carrying that the world hasn't seen yet? And who convinced you it was safer to hide it than show it? Drop a comment. Tell me about time someone decided who you were before you opened your mouth. Hit subscribe. Story like this don't get told on the news, they get told here. Share this with someone who's been quiet for too long. Still is quiet. Let them be loud.